I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Are you ready to win at the game of life? Well, throw out that rulebook and get down to the business of being the best and most authentic version of you. Welcome to the Human Design Podcast. We're changing the rules around success, abundance, purpose, love, and life, where we're creating a planet where everyone can thrive in a world that loves and supports each other. I'm your host, Emma Dunwoody, a qualified master coach, human design expert, podcaster, and entrepreneur that is living the life of my dreams, breaking all the rules while doing it, making a huge impact, and living my design and manifesting miracles on the daily. Join me as I break down and simplify everything you need to live in alignment with your human design, teach you how to recondition your unconscious mind for greatness, and to take back your power so you can manifest your heaven on earth and serve the rest of the planet at the same time. It's time to give up the fear and step into your highest potential, to reach for the stars, to know and live your greatness. It's what you deserve, and it's what the planet really needs from you. So buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Before you get into this transits episode, this is your monthly reminder to go to the show notes and check out the Body Graph Chart software. I know you've heard us talk about this before, so I'll keep this very short and very sweet. But if you want to know the tool that we've used to bring in over 20,000 new leads and 5 figures in passive revenue into our business, then go check it out. It's amazing. Stop sending people away to other people's websites to get their human design chart. Instead, use this tool to put it on your own website. You won't regret it. And use the code Human Design Podcast, all lowercase all together, Human Design Podcast, to get 50% off for a year. Okay, that's all from me, and enjoy the transits.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I am super excited to again have Yvette Mayer here to talk all things transits. Welcome, Yvette.
Yay! Thanks for having me. It's a great transit update. I'm excited.
Oh, that's so good. I definitely, in HDX and my mastermind, we've been talking a lot about, things actually breaking through, like manifestation, things coming through, which was the theme of last transit episode. But we've had a lot of dark nights of the soul. So I don't know if that's in the transits or it was just the mastermind.
Yeah, it could just be the mastermind. I would say that, there's always shadow and light, right? You that's life. You don't even appreciate the light if you don't experience the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
We would not have the human experience of joy if we didn't also have the shadow. So I don't think it matters which gate is moving through. We're going to have that. And there's always a low frequency and a high frequency.
Yeah.
That being said, at least for me personally, being a non-emotional being, moving through the throat gates, and that's another open center for me, and that's where we've been hanging out a lot, feels a lot easier. Great. I am going to say that.
Great. I love that. That's awesome. And I love what you said as well, because at the end of the day, I think so often people just get sucked into the stories of things like overnight success and it's easy and flow state and, only do it if it's a hell yes. And shit just doesn't work that way, you can be in alignment and in flow and still be faced with a challenge. You're still outside your comfort zone. It's still going to feel uncomfortable. And I definitely feel like the highs we've had in the mastermind is definitely reflective of how low people have been willing to go to break through and heal.
Yeah, that's so valid and valuable. It's really, I was even thinking about this in my own world today. It's always a breakdown before a breakthrough.
Always. It's just the way change happens. We can't change without it. It's just the way Mother Earth works. It's just, so
absolutely.
I think that's the piece. So many people try to, and God, this was me. I so thought I could find a way that I didn't have to face the shadows. I tried hard, people, for a long time. But yeah, it just doesn't work that way. We have to.
I got to tell you something, because I know that I can go anywhere on your podcast.
Yes, you can.
I presented my biggest masterclass of my entire life this morning.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. That's not what I'm telling you. On the way into my office this morning, I trod in dog poo and walked it through the entire space.
Oh no.
I was just thinking about how things like, there's always something. And, I'm gate 3. I'm like, of course that happened. Of course I found myself on my hands and knees, making sure I got rid of the smell as much as possible before I showed up for 70 people live. Of course.
But again, I think it's like the universe has a sense of humor, and
Yeah.
what a great way not to focus on you wouldn't have been nervous because you'd have been way too busy trying to clean up shit,
Oh God,
sometimes I think that little distractions.
Oh yeah, I was even Googling, can dog shit be a good sign?
Hilarious.
I found time to do that, didn't I? No, it was
God,
good. I mean, it ran really well. It was a really good time, but always something. And and more happened after that. I had some issues loading up the replay. It took me hours instead of a short amount of time. And I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it is what it is. Hey, I've got a funny story for you.
Yeah, tell me.
I got in. No, I was going to be a bit playful and say I got in a bit of trouble, but I didn't get in trouble at all. But a friend of mine from HDX, one of my founding members of the mastermind and of HDX, she sends me this post.
Yeah.
And it's one of the creators of the Australian Human Design Conference, right?
Yeah.
And she's talking about demi-reflectors. And she's ranting and she's like, they're not a thing. And, you can't separate the personality from the body and talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, this is hilarious. So I literally put in the comments, I'm like, hey, it's me.
I kind of made that up.
I made that up. And every single time I've said it, I've said, this is not a thing. I made it up for a friend of mine, back in the day, and talked about it because it was, just a reference to really help this friend of mine understand how her energy worked, because she had an unconscious connection from her 2 defined centers. But what I thought was really hilarious was that people were even using it completely incorrectly from the way that, I just made that up.
Totally.
And then they had just taken it and popped it on to fit whatever they were going through. But I thought of you and I fully owned it. I'm like, that's me. I made that shit up.
And also, not having a dig, but do want to say that I think the beautiful thing about human design is there's so much space for interpretation.
Yeah.
And I really believe that you find the teacher who can help you interpret it and give it language. And there's room for us all, and it's room for us all to have different perspectives, and it ought to be valuable, because really it is the ultimate personal development reflection thing that I've ever found in my life, right? Yeah. And it's so individual in the way that we interpret and take that in, that you can't actually put such strict labels on it. I don't believe you can.
I don't think you can either, but I think that's one, and I think that's one of the really big things that people miss about human design is that, we look at astrology and it's been around, it's one of the oldest sciences in human history. It's old, and human design's only been around since the late 80s. We have not been playing with this tool for very long at all. And although Ra channeled it, so yes, there's some hardcore mathematic evidence that this thing is not from his brain.
Yeah.
He still interpreted it. And if you actually, do your homework, every single channel, every single intuitive, every single teacher, all the information that comes through us has a bit of us on it. So it hasn't even had years and years and years or decades or even thousands of years to refine human design yet, So I think we just need to be, in the experiment, open-minded in the experiment.
Ra's no longer in the world. There's no official expert. There just isn't. It's perspective, it's interpretation, like everything.
Yeah, that's life. We actually had this epic class in HDX today. We had Nikki Rowley, who's the consultant that we've been working with for a long time. She's just epic. and she's bringing out all her principles for scaling and success. And like I can't remember what the exact wording of the first principle was, but the first point under the first principle is it's all made up. And it was just this like, oh my God. Yeah. Every single expert out there that you think knows everything just made that shit up. Like
100%.
Like when you start to really think about it, we are all just sharing our experiences, and so many of the experts out there are saying like, this is the way you got to do it, and it's just not true. It's the way that worked for you.
According to who?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that
anyway, I appreciate my demi-reflectorness. It does help me understand myself better, and that's what matters to me. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's it, right? Like I remember you going, oh my God, that makes so much sense now, because you were just constantly reflecting back because you had that unconscious connection. But yeah, anywho.
Beautiful. Good conversation considering that we are right in the middle of a whole lot of throat gates. Actually, as we record this, lots of interesting things are going on. We today are in the Sagittarius full moon, so that's a really big energy. And I was just having a look at what that meant, and part of it is wanderlust and kind of experiment and getting out and experiencing things. So very true for you. I know you're about to go off overseas.
Just about to have a massive adventure.
Just so amazing.
Looking forward to.
Amazing. So we've got that going on. In the human design transits, we're right now we're in gate 20. And gate 20 is, well, I think of it as power of the now. It can be called contemplation or being really present. I thought this was an incredible energy to be in, to have a masterclass today, because the high or the gift frequency is self-assurance, feeling really self-assured. But really the essence of it is just being here, which is so hard. It's so hard to just be here and let go of what's been and not project into what could happen and get into all the fear state. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're in this energy right now in the human design transit, but we're also going to move, Jupiter's going to move into this as we move into June as well. So it's a pretty dominant energy actually. And I know for a lot of people, because the 20, which I remember we talked about last month, connecting to the sacral, but of course it also connects to the G center, and it also connects to the spleen. So you got that right.
Yeah, love it.
And so
yes, that's the integration circuitry. Yep.
Yes. And so it's going to be turning on a lot of people in terms of different channels, different energy coming through. So I know for me, it turns on the 3420. Yay, channel of charisma. Thank you. So I think it's really nice to know that the 20 is moving through the sun now, but for most of June, it's still going to be in the chart. So for a lot of people, that's going to be bringing some fresh energy as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I am doing some, I was doing some learning, except the last week's been a bit hectic, so it's been pushed out again. I will be doing it while I'm traveling as well, but and all on like energetics. And the thing that blew my mind was just this simple explanation of authenticity, and almost what's the other word I'm looking for? It doesn't matter. That we all know that we create from the present moment, right? But most of us are stuck in the past or in the future. But our authenticity comes through in the moment. Like no fear exists in the moment. Where guidance comes through in the moment, in the now. So I feel like this is a time where we could feel even more deeply connected to our authenticity. Like this is a time to courageously choose authenticity and watch what the mind has to say about it. Like, nope, I'm good. Just listen to what little grenades it throws at you so that you know not to listen next time or whatever it is. But I feel like presence is one of the most powerful things we have as humans.
It completely is, and also one of our biggest challenges, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is. It's interesting, isn't it?
I thought it was amazing. I was just doing this learning, and he was talking all about, the present moment. And I had a big awareness of like, oh, wow, like my mental health, the fundamentally started to improve when I started meditating. Like
Mm,
what's that? That's being present in the
yeah,
moment.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, this is how we manifest. This is how we connect to our higher selves. It's
Yeah,
all about this present moment.
100%. It really is. It's yeah, it's just the most profound moment that we have is the now, right? But we
Yeah.
spend all of our time in this like, but what if? And hang on a minute, what happened then? And yeah, it's just crazy town. But yeah, if you're listening to this, take this moment just to reconnect into the fact that you only have now. That's all we ever have. So being present for now, being present for this podcast is a really fabulous thing to do right now.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, okay, as we move from May into June, we're going to continue on this theme, which is a good theme of lots of throat gates. So we're in this quarter of civilization. It really is about seeing things come to fruition. It is about making manifest. So it is a good time, I think, to be in business. I think it's a really opportune time as well when it comes to things like resources and abundance. So we'll talk a bit more about that when we get to June specifically. But let's just quickly touch in on how did May feel for you? What kind of was coming up? Did you personally, Emma, experience communication flowing well? Any manifestations coming through? Anything like that?
Yeah, look, I think May was a really big month. And I feel like as I sit here on the 23rd as we record this, like I'm exhausted.
You've
But
had a month
the
already?
wins, oh my goodness. I think I had a month by the first week, but loads of things that have been made manifest, like a big almost shift in the business that we've been working on, and all of a sudden effortlessly they happened.
Yay.
You know, this big trip that I'm heading off to do, like lots of podcast interviews, like invitations to be on podcasts kind of dropped in. Some other really cool stuff that I'm really nearly allowed to tell you about.
Yeah, maybe
Got
next month.
to, yes, I can definitely tell you next month. Final sequence of things. So yeah, it's been big. It's been a really big month. And honestly, on a personal perspective, on personal view, it's definitely been like the month where I feel like my new life is starting to unfold. The joy, the expansion, the
Yay.
freedom that I've started to feel this month has been extraordinary. I had a moment where I woke up one morning, and many listeners may have heard me talk about this, but when I was a kid, I would wake up every day with this sense of excitement. I don't know who I'm going to meet. I don't know what's going
Mm,
to happen, but I'm pumped that I don't know these things and that they're going to happen. And it's kind of a feeling that, all honesty, I've chased as an adult.
yeah.
And I've woken up with it many times this month. So yeah, it's definitely been a game changer. And my eldest turned 17. 17.
Oh, Emma. How did that happen already?
I know. It just feels like it happened overnight, but yeah, big
Yeah.
month.
Yeah, big month. It's been a big month for me as well. It's felt really expansive, actually.
Yeah.
Really expansive, really that word flowy. But there's been some really good flow, and also more balance, like more boundaries, more
Mm,
saying no, creating space, more nurture, which experimenting with that is proving how important that is as a non-negotiable
yeah.
instead of the overworking / hustle that I sometimes fall into. So that's been really good as well.
Mm. You need to kick that addiction.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, says the manifesting generator to the generator. I'm like, yeah, we can't help it. We can't help it.
I know, I know, I know. But this is the thing, right? I do believe that the only way we learn is to kind of like force the issue. Like I have
Yeah,
forced the issue with myself
yeah,
that I will be a grown-up.
Yeah.
I will lead myself, and I will be more firm with boundaries and doing the things to nurture myself through what can be a busy time, like launching. And I've already proven that it changes the freaking game.
Oh, it changes the freaking game. You know, my biggest thing that I'm working on is just my frequency. And I know that we're all working on it all the time, but it's something that I'm so conscious of, because in May, I had the most incredible experience that 3 of my all-time biggest heroes, business heroes, have become friends of mine this month. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on? Like, this is amazing. And it's just that whole frequency thing. Like, and I think one of the things I want to say to everybody, because it used to shit me when people would say, oh, it's all about your frequency, it's all about your vibe, because, you know, I'm like, but what does that specifically mean, and what are the exact actions I need to take to get there? And what I want to say to all of you is that it's unique to each one of us. And the reason why you're here listening to this podcast, the reason why you're a part of my community and my collective, is because we empower you to work out that for yourself. We give you everything that you need, but you need to work out that for you. You know, going back to that balance piece that you were saying, Yvette, like, one of the things that I just got, like, today, I'm so tired. Well, what's crazy is all the unresourceful behaviors that I used to do when I'm tired, I just don't do them anymore. And it's almost like I don't know I'm tired. But I was just riding my horse and it felt hard, and it never feels hard. And I was like, oh,
I'm actually tired.
Yeah. So, you know, like, it's this journey of working this stuff out for yourself, how it feels in your body, and then prioritizing that over everything. And you've got to clean up first, people. You do have to clean up first. You can't just bypass that shit.
No. And that's the thing, right? It's, if we don't clear out the things that are draining us, keeping us stuck, the people pleasing, the self-sabotage, like, if we don't kick that stuff to the curb, then we don't open up for the higher frequency and the expansion. And you're evidence of that in what you've just shared.
It's crazy. Like, I'm literally living in Wonderland. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool.
I
did have that moment. And I just want to say this to everybody listening. I did have that moment one night. I was falling off to sleep with the biggest Cheshire cat smile on my face, because it had just been the most epic day. I'd spent 3.5 hours with someone who's inspired me for the last 2 decades.
Wow.
And I had that moment where my ego jumped in and went, oh, fuck, it's all going to go wrong now. And I'm like, just started laughing at myself. Like, no, it's not. Like, I can't fuck this shit up, because I'm just being me. I'm not doing anything anymore. I'm not trying anymore. I'm not, you know, if something doesn't go the way I thought it was going to go, I'm just like, all right, sweet. So, yeah, I think that that's the other thing, is understanding that this journey, again, is not linear. And just because you might perceive that people don't have fears or challenges, or think that, oh my God, now what's going to happen because life's too good.
Yeah.
I think everybody experiences it. It's just we have to choose to laugh at it, or, you know, just let it go. Don't spend time focusing on it.
Yeah, I certainly had one of those thoughts today. This, like, but what if? And then I'm like, no. Let's not what if ourselves. Let's not project. Let's remember that we are in gate 20 right now. Amazing. Okay, so let's talk June. And the big picture is this continuation of throat gates, at least for the first half of June. So still, it continues to be a great time for manifesting. I was going to say making manifest, but it is a great time for taking inspired action, aligned action to what you truly desire to create in the world. It's also, I believe, an abundant time resource-wise. So it's really a great moment in time for you to be thinking about, how do I generate wealth? And the reason I'm saying that is, as well as having the throat-centered gates, we have the 45 coming through. So that is the other half of the channel of money. And it's going to be coming through the Sun and Mercury. It's also going to be happening at the same time as the 21 moves into the North Node. So we're seeing these I would call them very money-centric kind of, and resources, not just money, but resources, these gates popping up in the chart through June. And another thing, if you happen to be in Australia, which I know is a proportion of this audience, is we're also coming up to the end of financial year. So that is a time when people, especially in business, are looking to spend money because they're coming up against the end of tax year and looking for ways to reduce their income tax. I think that's probably a thing everywhere. Yeah. And so, if you happen to be here, that's really worth considering, that we have this background frequency of resources being, that energy being high. And then we also have some of the practical going on as well. So I think that's worth knowing. This is a shift from the nodes perspective as well. We had the 57 and the 51 moving through the south and the north node for much of this year. So that's changed now, or that's just kind of came through within the last few days and has moved now, so that we are seeing this 21 being in the north node and the 48 is now in the south node. So I'm like interpreting this as like a lot of depth, a lot of information. Now it's about bringing that through again into this, okay, how do I make it tangible now? How do I actually turn that into resources?
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's also like the other thing that I was thinking about, the shadow states, like the depth of like that fear of inadequacy, the fear of the dark, the fear of the shadows, and the 21, like, well, if I'm afraid to look inward, or if I'm afraid I'm inadequate, I'm going to want to control my external reality. So just looking for those sort of behaviors that are preventing you from going super, super deep, and just trusting the process.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. So I've mentioned this, but as we move into June, we have Jupiter in the 20, so all that presence energy that we talked about. And then we have Jupiter moving into the 16, which I know we spoke about this last month. I just have this complete love of the 16. It's just like, I think it's the enthusiasm and the working kind of ethic or something of the 16. And that's about to come through as we record this. It's the next gate, but that's also going to be quite prominent. Another throat gate that is going to be prominent through June.
Sitting. A lot of enthusiasm.
Lots of, yes, we can do this. Let's communicate clearly. Let's make things happen.
I love it.
Yeah. There is a brief moment of the 55 in the moon, but, the moon changes every other day. So just know that that's kind of happening around the 26th, the 27th of the month. Yep. So that's an opportune time, energy-wise. You're going to have a lot of exciting things going on in the chart at the end of the month, just before the end of our financial year.
Brilliant.
So big theme is, I would say, a really resourceful month, really great time to be creating magic.
Oh my God, I love that. I'm super excited because the things I'm going to see and do, and the people I'm going to get to meet. Oh my God, I'm excited.
Yeah. My question was, how long are you away for?
I am away for nearly an entire month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nearly.
Wow.
Nearly an entire month. Yep. So.
And does this include the retreat in Tulum?
Yep. So we have, we're going to see Greg Braden. Then there's some time that I'm in Austin, Texas and LA for some podcast interviews.
Awesome.
Then Tulum, we're running the Mexico retreat, which is going to be epic. Oh my God. And I think we actually have 1 or 2 places left. So if you're listening to this and you're on the fence, like dive in, because it'll be a game changer. And then we're coming home via Mallorca, because it's Elizabeth Ralph's 50th. Hopefully she won't mind me telling people that. So we're going to celebrate that with her on the way home. So
brilliant. Brilliant. You're going to have the best time. And it's going to be a really beautiful time. Transit-wise, background frequency is going to be on point for you all. As the month kind of we see the month through, there is a G center gate coming through, gate 15. And then at the end of June, it's going to be more root center energy. So there's we kind of move into the 52, but then there's 3 transits in a row in the root center. So a little bit different than the throat energy, but still that like get it done.
Yeah,
Kind
productive.
of
Like I
vibe.
always feel like the root center is that whole like let's just get shit done. Let's just get it done.
Absolutely. So that's the overview. To take you deeper into the actual gates moving through the sun transit through June. So the 1st of June, we're going to be in the 16. So we kind of covered that last month. It'll be just for the day. And then we move from the 2nd of June through the 7th into gate 35. So we're still in the throat center. The 35 connects to the solar plexus. It is quite an emotionally charged gate. That's how I interpret it when I really contemplate it. Perspective on that, Emma?
Well, I think the 35 is like, yes, it is emotional. Like it comes connected to the 36. So it comes up from the 36 into the 35. It's also a manifested channel. So it's that manifested energy. It can be a bit fiery.
Mm,
I think the thing for me with the 35 is this it's very experiential. You know, it's this
mm,
whole like the whole gamut of emotional experience and
yeah.
someone who wants to share it. So it's like the culmination. It's like it's the last gate in the sensing circuit. So I feel like it's like, well, I've had all these freaking experiences, people, and I just want to tell you about them, you know? So
Yeah, yeah. I'm ready
yeah.
to communicate them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also this energy to the 35 of valuing experience over things. Like
100%.
actually, that real sense of things are so much less meaningful than us having incredible experiences with
Yeah.
people, with adventures, uh,
Absolutely.
just like what you're about to go on. So I think,
Mm.
that's true of this period as well.
Mm.
Adventurous.
Bring it on. Well, it's perfect for me.
Yeah, you're away, you're involved.
Yeah.
Then we move from the 35 into the 45, which we've talked about a little bit already.
Mm-hmm.
This is connected to the heart center. This is the gate that is half of the channel of money. It's known as the gatherer in the traditional human design system. I think it's also very much about shared abundance, not just like personal getting ahead, building a fortune for self, but this sense of a rising tide lifts all boats, wanting everybody to win, which you are such a good example of this, by the way, Emma, like
Oh,
really bringing
thank you.
people up with you, and wanting everyone to win. It's not like a solo pursuit, right?
Mm-mm.
So
Not
I
at
think
all.
that's quite a beautiful energy that we've got coming through there.
I love that. I mean,
Yeah, and
the
it's
45, I also always remember when I first started studying it, it was like the king, the queen.
mm,
And it's like that energy of like what you're saying, but it's like making sure that all their people have the resources they need. That's a real generosity energy.
okay. Yes, yes. And then from the 45 on the 14th, 13th, depending where you are in the world, but mid-month, we move still in the throat, but we move into gate 12. This one, I think, can be one of those ones that has been channeled in quite a less high frequency manner, if you like.
I
It's
do find that like a lot of the old school stuff's really negative about this gate.
yes,
Yet I've heard some beautiful things that like this is the channel,
yeah,
the voice of higher consciousness. So there is
yeah,
so much beauty in it. It's just that it's moody. It's like
moody,
you've
yeah,
got to use that magic
yeah,
when you've got the energy for it, when it feels aligned, and
yeah,
just don't don't
yeah,
open your mouth if you're not in the mood for it.
yeah. And I think the word discernment that comes through, I think this is a more I think the more high frequency way to think about this. It's not being difficult or judgmental, which can almost come through with the 12, but it's more being very discerning and being considered and making decisions in a way of being just right versus all the caution and the not kind of negativity that can come through in this gate.
Yeah, I think the other thing just to add as well, like it's another manifested energy, So it's going to be that energy that's like
Big.
the words are going to land for some people that they need to
Yeah.
land for, and then others that it doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
So I think that's also a big player.
Yeah, and it's another one that's connected to the emotional center, right? So,
Yeah.
whew, it's like here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's mid-month, and then from there we finally move out of the throat for a little bit. So
Hello,
we
Chile.
move in. Yeah, hi Chile. We move into gate 15, sorry, from the 20th to the 24th or thereabouts. So we're moving into a G center gate, so quite a different energy there. It connects to the sacral, so lots more. There is a lot of authenticity that comes through, I think, with this energy. And it is really connected into and part of the G center, but there's a lot of purpose that comes through this one. Like it's a very purposeful energy, magnetic as well, and very authentic. How do you interpret the 15?
Yeah, well, I'd say that's a good description. I think, this gate of extremes is really about, if you have this gate, then timing's going to be a big player for you. And that you are going to have the nature of like all the seasons moving through you, like having that natural, I don't know, flow of change, if you like. And I always remember right at the beginning of my studies, my youngest son has the 15, and being told it was like, if he doesn't want to do something, like it feels so uncomfortable to him because he has the 15. So the 15 is very, very much about correct timing. And when you
Interesting.
trust the correct timing, then it's a very powerful energy.
And I guess
And
that
you never, and it's very much like about, sorry to cut
yeah,
you, very
go.
much about like marching to your own beat,
Yeah,
like you're not
yeah.
gonna, like, don't try and force yourself into other people's patterns or strategies or whatever, because that is not how you roll. You are not going to be the sort of person that does the same thing every day. So maybe it's, a mixing and a messing up of old patterns and routines.
I like that. And I also kind of interpret it as, like you said, marching to the beat of your own drum, but it's being driven by love within that somehow as
Yeah.
well.
Love of humanity, that gate
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful. And then the last gate moving through the solar transit for June is gate 52. So this is when we move into the root. It does connect to the sacral. The 52, let's just get still for a moment while we contemplate this. So it is the gate of stillness, or it can be called the mountain. I think of this as a bit like a line 6, it's like really seeing the bigger picture, really having a broad perspective.
Yeah, and I think also I always think of the gate of stillness as like that ability to sit in the gap, like it's like when if you and I think one of the metaphors that the I Ching uses is like, imagine the monk in his cave meditating. Like he is the epitome of stillness because on the outside he looks like he's completely still, but actually there's a lot going on. It's
Yeah.
just, it's this present moment connection. So it's that metaphor of, you know, within the stillness, powerful things happen.
Beautiful. And that finishes up our June, finishing up on a root centered gate. As I said, that is followed into July with a couple more. If we have a look at Mercury and what might be coming through communication wise, well, we're still kind of like in this dance. All right. So for Mercury, what's going to happen is, well, for now, Mercury's following the sun. So gates that we're already transiting through in the sun are showing up in Mercury next. So the energy doesn't change that much. Like we've been through the 8, it was the last gate we were moving through. We're in the 20. These are the first couple of gates in Mercury in June. And they're followed by some of the ones we've been talking about. And then around the middle of the month, it changes over. So this is the time when Mercury starts to come through with the gates before the sun. So this is where you might feel this pull almost, where Mercury's bringing these conversations up before we move into the sun transit.
Yeah, right. So you're talking about it before we're actually acting on it.
Yes. Whereas we're the other way around at the moment. It's almost like Mercury's hanging on to the energy a little bit. So the energy doesn't finish with the sun transit. It moves through Mercury afterwards, whereas that changes. And so the conversations may start to feel like, hang on a minute, are we already in this gate? Because the communication is coming up. And that's just the way, with the speed of Mercury versus the sun, that's the way we dance with it. It's how it sort of goes from being behind and then in front. So I think that's really interesting. And it also means that we're in communication. Think about Mercury, the channel of communication, and then we have throat-centered gate after throat-centered gate happening at the same time. So communication as a theme is, it's like throat-centered gates all moving through Mercury. So I just think really potent communication time, opportune time.
I just had a bit of an awareness. Like my throat has been playing up massively this month.
Ooh,
and it's,
wow.
It's healed. Like it's not been like this for the longest time.
Yeah.
And it's just made me go, I'm curious what that's all about, all these throat gates.
Yeah, because it's literally like if I picture a throat, I now picture it with all of the gates inside of it. It's like, they're all like, hey, I'm here. This energy is here. Yeah. Yeah. Well, kind of mid-month it starts to shift, where Mercury then starts to pull through these root-centered gates. So for the second half, there's going to be a bit of a shift where we don't have the double communication thing going on in the sun and Mercury. And then we move into the root center. So we have the 52, the 39, and then the 53 in Mercury. So more of that drive type of energy coming through in your communications at the end of the month.
Yeah, wow. 53 is powerful, expansion energy. So good.
Yeah, so we finished up June. We finish up June on the 53. And so that's the transits in a wrap or in a bow for this month. Big picture, amazing. Communication, manifestation, resourcefulness or abundance as well.
Oof, I love it. And, I think the thing that I would say to that is make sure you are taking imperfect aligned action. If you've got all this energy that's helping you bring things into reality, you've got all this energy that's helping you speak your truth, use your voice, express yourself, then don't waste it. Ride the wave, be courageous this month.
Manifest.
Yeah, exactly. Beyond your wildest dreams. It's my favorite thing at the moment. Beyond my wildest dreams.
Even beyond. I'd set up for my wildest dreams.
Yeah. Well, so I used to, and I'm all about Wonderland. Like Wonderland is my word for this year, and I spent all this time going through. And then all these crazy, amazing things started happening. So I was just like, that's it. Beyond my wildest dreams.
So good.
Because I want
absolutely
shit that I can't
love
even
it. Live vicariously through
or imagine happen to me. Good stuff happen to me. Yeah.
Amazing.
I love it.
Brilliant. Well,
cool.
Have a wonderful June.
That's it.
Whilst you gallivant.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to our big adventure.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being here with me today, Yvette. It's just been brilliant as always.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for following along at home. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.